You always loved airports, not just the planes, the entire atmosphere. The buzz of movement, the blinking departure boards, the perfume of duty-free mixed with jet fuel. It made you feel important just to exist in it. As a little girl, you pressed your face against the window at the gate and watched flight attendants glide by in perfect formation. Elegant, composed, commanding. They weren't stuck in traffic or waiting tables. They were somewhere, always headed somewhere. You didn't want a cubicle. You wanted clouds, freedom, a life that felt cinematic. So when the day came, when you got that email that said, "We are pleased to offer you a position," you cried. You told your friends you were finally going to travel. You posted the acceptance letter on Instagram with plain emojis and hashtags. You felt like you were stepping into a version of yourself you'd only seen in movies. Then training started, and reality hit. Suddenly, it wasn't about Paris. It was about safety demonstrations, emergency procedures, and how to handle a heart attack at 38,000 feet. It was memorizing FAA codes and learning how to fight fires with tiny oxygen canisters. It was being screamed at for having chipped nail polish. They taught you how to smile under pressure, especially under pressure. You learned to apply makeup at 4 a.m. and tape your feet to prevent blisters. You were issued pantyhose and expected to look polished even after a red eye with a broken galley. You learned that your body was part of the uniform, your hair, your nails, your waistline, everything was observed. You didn't care, not yet. Because the first time you stepped onto a plane in full uniform and greeted passengers with a welcome aboard, it felt like a dream. You were no longer a spectator in the airport, you were part of it. You walked the aisle with pride. You stood during takeoff and stared out the window like you owned the sky. But then came the first delay. The first time a passenger cursed at you for something outside your control. The first time you had to sit on a jump seat for 6 hours with cramps and no break. The first time a male passenger made a comment you couldn't quite report but couldn't quite forget either. Still, you pushed through. Because the layovers were new, the crew was fun, the lifestyle felt exciting. You posted photos of hotel breakfasts in Berlin, of street signs in Seoul, of sunset selfies in Miami. Friends commented, "You're living the dream." And you tried to believe them. But what no one sees is the 3 a.m. alarms. The 12-hour duty days, the last-minute reroutes, the months you spend without seeing your own bed. You started this job because you wanted to go, to see, to live freely. But early on, the cracks begin. You're told to be firm but kind, to smile even when passengers are rude, to de-escalate, to accommodate, to absorb. You think it's temporary, that once you build seniority, things will get better. That the early flights, the constant reassignments, the empty layovers will fade. You just have to make it through the first year. But you don't realize yet that this job doesn't just test your patience. It tests your identity. And it starts the moment you put on the uniform. You get into a rhythm, sort of. You memorize the boarding speech, the safety demo, the beverage cart pattern. You learn to smile with your teeth but not your eyes. You learn to nod without agreeing, to apologize for things you didn't do, to call turbulence light even when the cabin is shaking like a blender. You become fluent in subtle acts of survival. You master the art of the fake laugh when passengers tell you, "You don't look tired." You know how to gently but firmly wake someone up for their seatbelt. You develop radar for red flags. Too much alcohol, too many questions, too little respect. You are a server, a nurse, a counselor, a babysitter, and a security officer all at once. And you're expected to do it in heels. You deal with passengers who treat you like furniture, others who treat you like a therapist, some who treat you like something between a waitress and a fantasy. You get used to men staring, commenting, trying to guess where you're staying. You get used to brushing it off, smiling through it, walking faster down hotel hallways with your key already in hand. Women aren't always kinder. They snap, roll their eyes, ask for the manager like you aren't the one trained to evacuate a plane in under 90 seconds. You get blamed for delays, for weather, for someone else's missed connection. People yell about their luggage like you packed it yourself. You apologize anyway. You miss birthdays, holidays, baby showers, your best friend's wedding. You watch her say, "I do," through a phone screen from the crew lounge in Atlanta. You sleep in hotel rooms more than your own bed. Wake up and forget what city you're in. You start to measure time not by days, but by duty hours. You plan your life around crew scheduling and pray your days off aren't rolled. Your body changes. Your skin dries out. Your ankles swell. Your feet hurt in ways that don't go away with rest. Your eating schedule is wrecked. Sometimes you go 8 hours on crackers and ginger ale. You get one real break per flight, if that. And it's usually spent crouched in the galley, scrolling your phone, ignoring the passenger who keeps hovering nearby, pretending not to be reading your name tag. You watch couples fight quietly in row 17. You comfort scared children whose parents are too stressed to notice. You hand tissues to someone sobbing silently by the window. You unzip your humanity a little each time and then zip it back up. You tell yourself it's just a job, that you're lucky to be flying, that the view is worth it. But the clouds don't look as magical when you're wiping tray tables for the third leg of the day and your arms are shaking from exhaustion. You used to love this. Now you just try to make it to layover without crying in the lab. You're good at it now. You can de-escalate a drunk businessman in first class without raising your voice. You can manage a passenger with a panic attack and still finish your service on time. You know which passengers need extra water, which ones want silence, and which ones are going to push every boundary just to see if you'll bend. You know how to spot a problem before it happens. You know how to make a crying baby giggle with a napkin puppet, and how to talk a nervous flyer through takeoff using calm, practiced words. You've become a crisis expert and emotional chameleon. You've mastered the I'm fine smile. Your uniform fits like second skin. You can do your full face in under 7 minutes. You can prep a galley like a surgeon sets a table. Everything is efficient now. Your service, your speech, your detachment. But that's the part no one sees. How detachment becomes your shield. Because if you let it in, every insult, every complaint, every personal question, you'd break. So instead, you wear your professionalism like armor. But even armor gets heavy. You look polished, but your body's screaming. Your knees ache from walking the aisle in turbulence. Your hips throb after 3 legs and 5 hours of standing. Your feet have permanent bruises where heels used to pinch. You carry a pharmacy in your carry-on, ibuprofen, blister pads, electrolytes, eye drops, caffeine pills. Your skin is dry. Your sleep is broken. You haven't had a period on schedule in months. People say, at least you get to travel. But travel isn't what they think. You don't get to see Paris. You get 6 hours in a chain hotel near the airport. You eat at the same 3 food courts around the world. You've stood in a dozen countries and felt completely alone in all of them. You're single. Or you're in a relationship that's cracking under distance. Either way, your phone is full of half-finished texts and "sorry I missed this" messages. You're emotionally available to strangers, but not to the people who matter. Some days, you feel invisible. Other days, you feel like a target. You've been touched, filmed, talked over, talked down to. You've had to file reports you knew wouldn't go anywhere. You've walked off flights shaking and still had to show up for the next one, smile loaded like a weapon. But you do it. Because you're good, and because starting over is terrifying. You don't hate flying. You just don't recognize the version of yourself who used to dream about it. You're not bitter, just tired, not broken, just worn. The uniform still fits, but some days it feels more like a costume. The smile still shows up on your face, but it doesn't reach your eyes anymore. You've been flying for years now, long enough to earn seniority, long enough to have a rhythm. But the truth is, you're tired in a way that no layover ever fixes. Your patience thins with every flight, every unnecessary ding of the call button, every complaint about seatbacks and soda options. "Do you have anything better than this?" asked with a smirk like you're responsible for the catering. You wake up in hotel beds and genuinely forget what city you're in. You open your calendar and see home, marked like it's a rare holiday. You keep a suitcase half-packed on your floor. Laundry lives in rotation, never fully put away. Life is a loop. Airplane, shuttle, hotel, repeat. You've stopped pretending this is glamorous. Now it's just work. Hard, physical, emotionally draining work. You keep a mental list of the worst passengers. The man who told you to smile more after you served him coffee. The woman who demanded to know if your lipstick was flight appropriate. The teenager who filmed you during the safety demo and posted it online with mocking captions. You've cried in the lavatory and dried your tears before stepping back into the aisle. You've watched coworkers burn out, quit, vanish. You've hugged friends goodbye in crew lounges, promising to stay in touch, knowing you probably won't. You've seen bright-eyed new hires walk on board and thought, give her 6 months. You've learned how to laugh at the misery. It's the only way to survive. You joke about everything. Turbulence, delayed flights, rude passengers, swollen feet, sleeping sitting up. Humor becomes your release valve. But under it all, the sadness builds. You miss things. Always. Your sister's baby was born while you were somewhere over the Atlantic. You FaceTimed from a galley. You said, "I love you," while half listening to the captain's PA announcement. It didn't feel like enough. You feel like you're always almost present in your own life. And the emotional labor never ends. You soothe crying children. You clean vomit with your bare hands. You de-escalate mid-air arguments that could turn violent. You do it all quietly, politely, with your name pinned to your chest and your voice calm. You've been touched without consent, cornered by passengers, flirted with aggressively, ignored when you said no. You've written incident reports that no one followed up on. You've learned to laugh it off, learned to carry pepper spray off duty, Learn to keep your hotel room deadbolted and your keycard in your bra. You're not scared. You're used to being scared. You used to see the job as freedom. Now it feels like captivity with a smile. You sit on jump seats staring straight ahead, wondering how much longer you can do this. Not because you're weak, but because the job chips at you in slow, quiet ways. Ways no one sees. Passengers get off the plane, you stay on. Smiling, always smiling. You used to tell people you had the best job in the world, and sometimes you still believe it, in flashes. In those rare moments when the sky turns gold at 35,000 feet and the whole cabin is asleep, and for once, no one needs anything from you. In those seconds, you feel like the luckiest person alive. But they never last, because those moments aren't the job. They're the escape from the job. The job is missing birthdays. The job is being treated like furniture with a name tag. The job is swallowing frustration, exhaustion, and humiliation, then smiling through it with perfect posture and lip gloss that doesn't smudge. The job is loneliness dressed like freedom. You gave up stability to chase the sky. You imagined yourself collecting countries like postcards, falling in love on layovers, growing into the kind of woman who writes memoirs and leaves lipstick on coffee cups in foreign cafes. But what you collected were trauma responses, hyper-awareness, dissociation, emotional burnout masked by cheerful professionalism. You fell in love, sure, but long distance doesn't survive flight delays and duty days. And the relationship you needed most, with yourself, got left behind in some airport years ago. You keep going, because it's what you do. Because starting over means losing the one thing you've built. Seniority, routine, control. You've sacrificed too much to quit without something to show for it. And what would you do anyway? Sit at a desk? Be grounded? You've spent so long flying that you forgot what it feels like to stand still. And that's the heartbreak of it. You wanted to see the world. But now that you've seen it, you don't remember how to feel it. You take photos you never post. You visit cities you never explore. You walk through ancient streets with tired legs and earbuds in, already thinking about your pickup time and how bad traffic might be. This was supposed to be a dream, and for a while it was. But dreams, when stretched too far, become burdens. You wanted to fly, and you did. But somewhere between the gates and the hotels and the recycled air, you lost pieces of yourself you didn't even notice falling away. Now you walk down the aisle of yet another plane, eyes scanning, hands ready, smile loaded like armor. You say the words you've said 10,000 times before, "Hi there, welcome aboard." And you wonder if anyone sees the woman behind the uniform. 'Cause you're still there, just tired, just older, just quieter. You gave everything to the sky, and all it gave back was a view. That's why it sucks to be a flight attendant.